Welcome to Tips from the Pros with former world champion Bob Anderson. Bob, when you was world number one, how many hours a day would you be putting on the practice board?
Minimum of 4, but anything up to 8 hours a day just before a big tournament. You know, I always worked by the thought that if I walk on stage thinking I wish I'd have practiced a bit more, that was negative.
Yeah.
I walk up there feeling that I practiced perhaps too much.
Yeah.
I could handle that much better.
Yeah. And in those practice sessions, would you use a practice partner, or would it depend on whether anyone was available to?
Yeah, back in the day, it was difficult because there was no one else in Swindon at that time to practice with me at that level. But there was one or two boys who played county who came along and practiced with me, and I'm very grateful to them even to this day.
Yeah, yeah. And did you have routines, or would it be like a lot of players you hear just practice doubles now? You know, they say they can always hit a treble. So.
Well, yeah, we grow up on the treble 20. When you say practicing doubles, no, practicing finishing, which involves hitting the double, obviously, with the last dart. Yeah. All my practice routines over the years have been orientated towards finishing.
Yeah.
You've got to hit what you're looking at.
Yeah. And if, say, for example, a match when you say the double top didn't go in and the double 16 didn't go in, would you practice that double, or would you say that just happened in that match and we just move on?
I wouldn't specifically spend an hour or so just throwing at double 16 or double top. As I say, all my practice routines would involve combination shots.
Yeah, that's it. Because I hear players talking about like the 85, 86, 80, all the way up to say 150, 160. Because
what's wrong with 170?
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, we always knew you could hit that, Bob, so you didn't do that. And regarding now, obviously you still play Super League at a high level? Do you spend a bit of time on the practice board still?
I spend a bit of time on the practice board, but nowhere near as much as I used to. Just before Super League, I'll put in a couple of hours, and I play twice a week in that sort of league. And occasionally, I'm obviously busy on the exhibition circuit, and I try to use an exhibition game as a practice.
Yeah, that's it, 'cause there's obviously players who come out, they want to be the former world champion, don't they? Because,
do they ever?
Yeah. And what about if, say, for example, you've lost in a big match, back perhaps, in the 80s, 90s. Did you ever come home and then practice after the game? I've heard that mentioned by one or two players. Or would you just put the darts down and leave it for another day?
I certainly wouldn't be dwelling on the thought,
No.
because then I'm thinking negatively. A wise man once told me, don't think about what you've just done bad. Think about what you're just going to do brilliantly.
Yeah, positivity. And one last question, if you don't mind. One bit of valuable information for a dart player. What do you recommend?
The only thing that moves when you're playing is your forearm. Nothing else. Keep everything else solid.
There we go. For the former world champion Bob Anderson, my name is Paul Starr, in association with Unicorn. That was Tunks and Tails. Tips from the Pros, keeping you at the sharp end of world darts. Thanks for joining us.